Recording started. Yes, welcome everyone again to today's webinar, Hindu University of America. We have Exploring Kautilya's Arthashastra, the leadership manual for development, the manual for leadership development. Our faculty and guest speaker today is Pranav Bhai, Shri Pranav Patel. He's right now the director at the School of Ultimate Leadership, Seoul in Ahmedabad. He's been teaching courses at HUA for I think 8 or 9 batches now, if not, I'm not miscorrect. And we got another batch underway, and we're going to be developing and evolving and changing and improving on our offerings. And so in today's webinar, we're going to look at the Arthashastra, but from more of a political angle, administrative thought. Again, it's a lot of you know, maybe you've been on with us for a previous webinar. This Kautilya's Arthashastra was composed 2 millennia ago, right? Over 2,000 years ago. And it is extensive, the full spectrum of governance, economics, diplomacy, ethics, statecraft, with a lot of depth and realism, which we're missing in today's world in the way that it seems foreign policy is conducted, at least from my perspective, in sunny Los Angeles. But in this session, we're going to have Pranav Patel, Shri Pranav Bhai, is going to guide us through some of the substance of the 15 books. There's 15 books, Adhikaranas, of the Arthashastra, and he's going to overview each section and how it contributes a comprehensive vision of social order, political wisdom. And so let me introduce Pranav Bhai quickly, and we'll take your questions, we'll engage, we'll try to turn this ancient Arthashastra into something that applies to the modern world. And it's not very hard. You know, there's so many insights and parts of it that clearly apply, and we do better if we did pay attention to it. Um, who do we have here? Damodaranji from Chennai, glad to have you. Now let me introduce Pranav Patel, Shri Pranav Patel, a little bit more in detail. He's held key leadership roles, including as the founding CEO director of Chanakya Anvikshiki Private Limited and the director at the Chanakya Institute of Public Leadership. He's worked across sectors, including in the corporate sector, the education sector, public service, and he's provided leadership training to diverse professionals. He holds a master's degree in leadership science and a postgraduate certificate in Kautilya Arthashastra from the University of Mumbai. He's lectured at many institutions. He's also a certified financial planner. I think you've got your level 2. I don't know if you're still pursuing it. And he's got so many awards. He's got so many accolades, and it's a pleasure to have him with us today, helping us develop our leadership. And we've had some internal conversations about Hindu University of America, where we're at, how we're operating, and how working together and bringing people like yourselves in, people who are students, supporters, joining us for a webinar, but then also our own faculty, our own intellectuals like Pranav Bhai into HUA at a higher level, and using what we're talking about in our operations. So that's how this webinar came about, and I'm glad to be hosting it for us today. So Pranav Bhai, with that, let me hand it to you and get us started.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that exciting introduction, I would say. Really appreciate. And HUA has been definitely a family for me since I would say at least last 2.5, 3 years that we've been associated and regularly conducting courses with HUA. Really happy with the way HUA in particular has evolved over the period of last few years that we see, and the spectrum in which it is offering courses and now at different levels, I would say, from certificate courses to a PhD program. So that's really, I feel glad to be a small part of the whole journey which HUA has covered over the last few years. Coming on to today's session, first of all, welcome everyone on this auspicious day. Today is, according to Hindu calendar, it's Kali Chaudas, as we say in our context, post Dhanteras. Yesterday was Dhanteras, today is Kali Chaudas, and looking forward to an exciting Diwali for all of us coming in here. So wishing you all a very auspicious festive season for everyone in here and to everyone in your family as well. Thank you for joining in during this period of time, because most of the people are busy with family, celebrating on a holiday, and joining an academic webinar during at this point of time is really something which I would be glad and very happy to see so many people joining in as well. So thank you very much all for joining in for this webinar. Now, as Ankur Bhai said, we've been exploring Arthashastra as a course over a period of last 9 batches that has been conducted by HUA, and we've been running a particular program, and that is more to focus on some of the principles of Arthashastra, which we pick up and try to put it in modern day business, corporate contextual references. However, in our discussion came up that, Arthashastra is way beyond. At times we dilute Arthashastra because it is something which is made as a book on governance, or as we say, a book on leadership development. I'll take you through the whole understanding why do we call it a book or a manual on leadership development. What is the book actually all about in its true essence, rather than looking at contextualizing to present day needs of ours, I would say, and those are petty needs at times, because we look at Arthashastra, which is a larger text towards our smaller needs, which is to run a business, to run a small company, or see how it helps in our jobs. Well, thus the principle helps us to understand it, but what is Arthashastra in itself? Why do we keep talking about it again and again? And why is it, as Ankur Bhai rightly mentioned, after 2 millennium, 2,300 years, we'll see those details as we go ahead. But why are we still talking about it? And what is it that it is so such an excellent thing that what is it compiled of that we still have it relevance been spoken about? So according to me, and the way I have explored Arthashastra, since 2013, I have been on this journey with my teacher, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, where I first got to learn the Arthashastra under his guidance. I studied all the 6,000 sutras word by word. And since being on this journey, the sadhana continues. I still regularly do a program where we are doing exploring. So it's not a program, I would say, it's more of a study class which we have, where we try and study sutra by sutra. It almost takes us around 2 years to complete one round. So till now, we've finished 4 rounds of Kautilya Arthashastra in all. And the journey continues. It's a sadhana which is there, which probably I would say the Shastra Krupa, which is there on us. And we've been doing this exploration of Arthashastra. Coming on to what is Arthashastra, and for people who have not heard of Arthashastra before, or have not known, I'm going to take you through a little bit of basics of what it is, where does it come from, who the person behind is that we keep talking about, and then we go and explore the Arthashastra itself in terms of what is this treatise that is been spoken about. So let me just pull on my presentation. Here is. I'm not going to do any video, not going to spend time on videos or something this time. I would say more, let's focus on the content work. And then if required, we'll just do some discussion in terms of question answers towards the end of the session. So Ankur Bhai, I have around, say, 50 minutes to go from here.
Yeah, 15 minutes is perfect.
All right, great. So yes, what we're doing is exploring Kautilya's Arthashastra, and let's go on this journey of understanding what Kautilya Arthashastra. I'm not going to get into the sutras today. I'm not going to get into what Arthashastra talks about in terms of what principles it gives. But then let's just look at the structure of Arthashastra. Let's understand how Arthashastra is built. When this person wrote it, what is it that he covered? What are the subject matters he covered in the Arthashastra? Now, going ahead, some few things which I always talk about is, first of all, Chanakya. Talk of known by different names. Then yes, this is the man who's written Kautilya Arthashastra. Let's go and understand who he is, when did he live, what did he do, and why is he a legend that we speak about this even today. Right. First of all, known by 3 names, so don't get confused. We talk of Kautilya Arthashastra, we keep repeating the word Kautilya here. So the same person known by 3 different names, Vishnugupta, Kautilya, and Chanakya. Vishnugupta somewhere is the given name, his birth name, which was there, which was given by his parents or his family. So the name Vishnu comes in from that. Vishnugupta is the given name. Like Kautilya is more of the scholarly name. And we're going to explore that scholarly part of his works today. So Kautilya or Kautilya Arthashastra comes in with this. Kutila Gotra is what he belonged to, and that is the reason why the Kautilya word comes into picture. In fact, it is said that the word Kutaniti also came in because of the word Kautilya. So these are a few things, but that is not what we want to explore today. But then for us to understand, Kautilya is one of the name. And third name, The claim to fame name, a lot of people keep talking about is Chanakya. We have made it a slang these days. Aaj ka Chanakya kaun hai? Who is it in the political world? Is it Chanakya of today's world? Is this politician the Chanakya who's really using his brains and coming up with all those tactics and strategies and then really building what he wants to doing and things. So Chanakya is the claim to fame name. It comes in because of his father, Chanaka Putra Chanakya. Chanak was his father. Chanak himself, Acharya Chanak, as we say, he was the Acharya as in the principal, and he was an Acharya for in political science college or school itself. So that's where the word Chanakya comes in. Just to give you a little background, don't get confused when I am flip flopping because for me also subconsciously I might use any of the names during our talk. Going ahead to know more about him, what are we exploring? This is the work which he has done, and this is why he is known. So, three treatises written by him in 4th century BC. So, around 2,300 years is what we are talking of. This is not a history session, but then somewhere around 321 BC is the year. So, 320 to 330 BC is what we are talking of as in a historical date towards that. So, someone who's actually happened, a person who in reality happened. So there's no myth behind it, or there is no guesswork, or it is not something which is, I would say, a fictitious character. The real person happened. We have empirical evidences available to prove that. And Kautilya Arthashastra, in fact, becomes one of the evidences because in one of the books, for the 15th book, the last book, he signs in the autograph of Kautilya himself. He says, the man, Kautilya, who was responsible for defeat of Dhanananda and the person behind making Chandragupta Maurya, the king, is writing this treatise and why, in what format he's writing it. So it comes in there. So there's an evidential, I would say, proof available that this has happened. Now, going on to what did he do? Three things which is known, three treatises which is known to everyone. Kautilya's Arthashastra, that is what we are focusing on, which has 15 sub books. 15 books within that. What are these 15 books is what will be that will be the focus of our today's session. So we'll be focusing on this 15 books, which has 150 chapters and 180 sections. I would say, by next time, if available, we can do two webinars where we can actually explore this 150 chapters in terms of what are these chapters of Kautilya Arthashastra, which is there and spread across 6,000 sutras. Bhagavad Gita. Anyone from the audience? Sorry, I've just put a slide. Anyone from the audience wants to share? How many sutras or how many slokas in Bhagavad Gita? I'm sure most of you would have read Bhagavad Gita and know Bhagavad Gita very well. So how many slokas? 800? Anyone else? 700. Yes, 700 slokas in 701. So 700 odd slokas which we talk of in Bhagavad Gita. And here what we're talking of Kautilya Arthashastra is 6,000 sutras. Right, so that's the size which we are exploring. That is what we are looking at. Mahabharata itself is somewhere around 9,000 shlokas, which the whole Mahabharata as the text is covered in. So 6,000 sutras is what we're talking of, the size of Kautilya Arthashastra which is written. We will get into details of that, but apart from that, some things which is known to everyone, Chanakya Niti, a very well-known text of his 455 sutras there, which is the 17 chapters. I would say at times it is a one sitting book. You can just sit and explore across Chanakya Niti. And I would say it is a must for everyone. Just take a half a day off, sit and read through Chanakya Niti. This is basically a book which is focused on Praja Dharma, how the society should be, how the Praja should be, how families should be, how the relationship between husband and wife should be, how the relationship between son and the father should be, how people should behave. So that is what is focused in Chanakya Niti, more focused towards the people, the Praja, whereas Kautilya Arthashastra is more focused towards the Raja or the king or Rajaniti Shastra, as we say, which is more towards governance in that manner. And third thing is Chanakya Sutrani as Praniti Sutras, which is around 6 chapters, 571. These are one-liners where he's given principles. He says, Sukhasya Moolam Dharma. If you want to be sukhi hona hai, if you want to have that satisfaction, the happiness in life, you have to live a dharmic life. Right? Very simple, right? You have to have the righteous way of living. But then he goes further. He says, Dharmasya Moolam Artha. Even if you want to be dharmic, you need artha. Artha is very important. As Vivekananda says, meditation cannot happen empty belly. Right? So arthasya moolam rajya. How does someone become wealthy? It is the Rajya, the country, the society, which is important, and how it has been structured, how the Raja and Rajyasimulum Raja, the leader of the country, the nation or the state which we talk of, is the person responsible. Raja Kalasya Karanam. The leader is responsible for the time which we all live in. So that is what Chanakya Sutrani focuses upon. There are one-liners, principles which are there. Kautilya Arthashastra, in particular, is a text which is focused upon the administrative governance as the king should be done. And this is a text which is specifically written for the prince who is going to become the king. So when we study Kautilya Arthashastra, in fact, the first sutra which comes in is Anvikshiki Trayi Vata Dandaniti Cheti Vidya. Chatastra Eva Vidya Iti Kautilya. Four vidyas which are important for a leader. Anvikshiki, Trayi, Vata, and Dandaniti. Anvikshiki, he further explains, Sankhya Yoga Lokayata Cha Itya Anvikshiki. There are three philosophies which are out of the nine Indian philosophies. We're not getting into those details here. But then there is a pre-assumption while studying Kautilya Arthashastra that the Indian philosophies, the nine Indian philosophies plus three, as in the three Vedas, have already been studied by the prince. Someone who has finished the Gurukul study, someone who has finished his basic education, and then who has come back to the kingdom, gonna be ready to become the king. The prince who is ready to become the king. So this is more of a finishing school program, which has been given to the prince, I would say. So more of a postgraduate program, I would say, where someone has done their basic education, and that's when the leadership qualities or the governance quality has been taught to. In fact, when we talk of Kautilya Arthashastra also, so when does Kautilya Arthashastra be taught? So he starts, in fact, he talks about the solar sanskaras, the 16 sanskaras which are there. After that, Keshantara sanskara, the first time when someone is shaving. So at the age when Keshantara happens, all right. So Rutu Sanskara for women, when puberty hits, basically, that's when Kautilya Arthashastra is taught. So more or less, if we understand, Kautilya Arthashastra becomes an teaching which is somewhere around 15, 16 years of age when it is taught. Going into, again, focusing a little bit on Kautilya, why we are talking about it. Why is this text becoming so and so of a focus and importance here? A man who vowed to pull down the Nanda dynasty. So Dhananand was the king. We all would have heard the story here. Who have not, I would say, definitely will explore further. So he vowed that I will bring down this king. A very well-known story behind that, right? The Shikha which he had, he says that till the time I don't bring down this evil king, I will not tie my Shikha, my pony. I take that vow of pulling down Dhananand. Not only he pulls down Dhananand, not only defeats Dhananand, but he also installs the righteous king. So Chandragupta Maurya is kingmaker. In today's time, the kingmaker, who is the kingmaker? Who is the kingmaker? The person who doesn't come in and sit on the chair, but the one who is running the strategies from behind. That is what is called kingmaker, right? But somewhere Chandragupta Maurya was trained. He was his student. Kautilya Arthashastra comes in as a treatise which talks about the training which is given to the prince. And that's where the kingmaker comes into focus. Third thing, responsible for defeat of Alexander in India. The man who not only taught things, right, but he also practically made it happen. And he was the one who united 16 different kingdoms at that point of time and made that united Rashtra, I would say the united country, federal system, union of state systems, blah blah blah. We talk of different kind of things where states have come together. So we call it Ganarajyas in Indian context, where smaller states, which are Rajyas, come together and form something larger, which is the Rashtra. So this concept of Rajya and Rashtra comes in, and Chanakya talks about it also in the Arthashastra, but it's seen in his practical application here also. Finally, Ashoka, India's first emperor. So training of Ashoka also, grandson of Chandragupta Maurya, was King Ashoka. Chandragupta Maurya, his son was Bindusara's grandson Ashoka, and Ashoka was trained by Chanakya as well. He had given him the training and that is why we call him as the person who was obviously trained by Chanakya, but also the one who went behind becoming India's first global emperor, not using any hard power, but using soft power. A different subject to explore, not getting into those details here for today's context. But then these are some historical backgrounds of Chanakya which we talk of. Here on your screen is the Kautilya's Arthashastra, which is available today. We can go and see it. This is something which was found in 1905 in Mysore, and Pandit from Tanjore came and gave it to the librarian because that Pandit found it in his some of his remains which he found in his family, and then he realized that this is some text, and he went and gave to uh, Shama Shastri ji, who was at that point of time the librarian in the Oriental Library of Mysore. And that's when Shama Shastri ji realized, oh, this is the Kautilya Arthashastra, which was missing for a while. And then the whole revival of Kautilya Arthashastra happened after it was found. So even available today, we all can go. You can go to Mysore in India and go and see the Kautilya Arthashastra in physically available, written on palm leaves in that sense. Known as a book of economics, obviously, Arthashastra, as we say, how the earth or the economic, the material world works. So, economics, statecraft, as in Rajaniti Shastra, how to run the states, punishment, as in Dandaniti Shastra, warfare, as in Yuddhaniti, and strategy, which we spoke of, is Anvikshiki, how to think, how to strategically think. So all that is covered, and this is what is most important, I would say, for the leader who's going to become the kings. That is why it is a book on leadership development. What is a curriculum? What that a leadership development should have is what Kautilya Arthashastra focuses upon. Multiple things it covers: fundamentals of management, how the leader should manage, economics, law, foreign policy. We can just go on and on. I will cover a few of them here. It talks about things like gemology, Ayurveda, architecture, visa system, passport system, accounting systems. I mean, talk of it, and what is there in modern day, you'll find a contextual reference in Kautilya Arthashastra. That's why we say it's a book which has survived the test of time because it focuses on human psychology, how human being thinks, whether it's you using AI's help and thinking about that in modern day context, or whether it is thinking as anything. But there are few human qualities which is always there, and human needs, desires. That is what Chanakya focuses upon, and how does a human being focuses and behaves. And that's when Kautilya Arthashastra is written in that fashion. And here, coming on to now, the topic which we are into. These are the 15 books of Kautilya Arthashastra. I'm just keeping the names of the books. This 15 books covers the 6,000 sutras which we talk of. And there are different things which Kautilya focuses upon in the Arthashastra. And this is what I have brought up here on the screen. Now, how Kautilya Arthashastra develops and how has he structured it will give us more understanding here. First book, when Kautilya Arthashastra starts, the first book which he has written is more concerning the topic of training, Vinayadhikarikam, right? What is the training? So now the focus here is on the individual, the leader who is there himself, the prince whom we are talking of. What knowledges he should have? Number one, he focuses on, right? So Anvikshikitra Yuvata, Dandaniti Sheti Vidya. These are few things he says. These are the knowledges which he should learn. He not only stops there, he gives him, he says what are the qualities the leader should have. So leadership qualities come into picture out here. Things like, Arishat Vargatag. Well, six enemies of human being which we talk of. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mana, Mada, Harsha. How do we cast out these enemies? He's given an understanding of that. How the king should be, how the prince should develop those qualities of a leader. Which is so when we talk of modern day, we do a lot of leader. I do a lot of leadership programs, and one of the basic topic which comes in a leadership program is qualities of a leader. And oh, what kind of a leader should be? What a leader should be something like this. There should be something like that. Chanakya has really listed down 64 different qualities have been given as a leadership qualities which he talks of and how they should be developed. Right. Apart from that, he also focuses in Vidyanandi Karyam is developing of the palace. So he talks about Amatya Utpatti. How do I recruit my second in commands? My immediate reportee as a leader. These are the most key important people. How do I go about selecting them? What are the qualities I would look at? How do I go and assess them that the qualities which they are talking in an interview are really the qualities which they have? So it focuses on different things. And Kautilya Arthashastra focuses on qualities such as character of the person. How is he in terms of dealing with money, right? What is his reverence towards the nation, right? So how is his character when it comes to women? So these are kind of things which we are looking for when you have people reporting. You don't want such people around who don't have basic qualities of a character of the right human being, which we talk of. Right? So Vyakti Nirman, as we talk of, which is there. So that is what has been focused in that sense. He also talks of the daily routine of a king. One thing which most of us somewhere struggle around with is how should I manage my day? Time management, stress management, been talking about a lot. Chanakya actually gives a daily routine of the king. When should he get up? When should he go to sleep? What all are the activities he should do? When he should do? And why he should do those activities at that point of time. So daily routine, dinacharya, as we say, has been spoken about. He also talks about the king's involvement with his wife, involvement with his kids. So how should the king be with the prince? If the prince is in favor, prince is not in favor at times. So how do we? So that all is covered as a first part of Kautilya Arthashastra in the first book itself. Training, developing the leader himself, developing that individual whom we talk of. So Vyakti Nirman, or as we say, the leader's Netrutva Nirman. How is that leadership quality been developed and what a leader should be is focused upon the first book of Kautilya Arthashastra. Second book he gets into is the activity of the head of the department, Adhyaksha Prachara. Right. So now individual is developed, the palace is developed, people, things around him is developed, but then he has to run what, govern what? The kingdom, right? How is the leader going to govern the kingdom? Different ministries, right? Different departments which are there. So he talks of different departments which are there, starting from things like industries which are there. So metallurgy, metal industries, cotton industries, how agriculture should work. In fact, he talks about things like slaughterhouses and liquor stores, prostitution houses, policing departments, visa departments, multiple. And when we see, reflect upon this, we see these are the realities of society which the leader has to manage. Right? He talks of medical systems which are there. He talks of taxation system which is, well, that's why we talk of Arthashastra is a book of economics. But this is where he comes, how the taxation department, how the tax should be collected. So all that is focused upon the activities of the head of the departments, which is there, and different departments which are there. 34 main departments, we can say in today's context, 34 ministries which are there. And then how does those ministries manage? Who are the reporters? Whom they work with? All that is in this book too, which is there. So setting up the whole administrative system is what book two focuses on, Daksha Prachar. Third thing Kautilya Shastra talks is Dharmastheya. We said the Dandaniti Shastra, judges, how the judicial system should work, how law and order should work. Wow, what a petition is, what evidences, who can be a witness, who cannot be a witness, when a transaction is valid, when a transaction is invalid. All those focuses are coming in this particular with the Dharmastheya legal system, how the whole. So when you have a system and department, a country which is there, there is going to be law and order, which is the maintenance of law and order has to be done. So how does that legal system work is all focus upon book 3 in the Dharmastheya. Book 4 focuses on suppression of criminals. There is always going to be some or the other criminal activity, Chanakya says. Small, big. How do we go? Forensic sciences. How do you go and investigate if there is a murder which has happened? How do you go and figure out if there's theft which has happened, and how do you make punishments for those things which is there, and how do you bring those under control? So suppression of criminal activities, understand. Kantaka shodhanam, how do you find out the kantaka, the thorn in the society which is there, the one who is really creating this trouble, the thief who is there, who's taking away money from the system? How do you go and find out corruption, how to deal with that? Comes in suppression of criminals. He doesn't talk about elimination of criminals. He talks about suppression, because understanding from Kautilya's point of view is you cannot eliminate things. You cannot just remove things. In fact, Kautilya Arthashastra, when we study, Chanakya is seen. He says you cannot ban anything. If you're going to ban anything, it is just going to fire back. So you can only regulate. So when we see countries banning this thing, banning that thing, and I'm in the state of Gujarat, I don't have to tell people what banning means about certain things. When you're banning things, it only provokes it furthermore at times. So Chanakya says you cannot ban anything. In fact, you can regulate things. So how do you do about that? Again, different topic there. We can get into details when we talk about suppression of criminals in a different class altogether. But then Kantaka Shodhanam is where he talks about criminal management, the internal security which we talk of, the policing system which is there. Further ahead, Yoga Vrittam, one of the finest thing which Kautilya Arthashastra has always been spoken about and referred to, is the secret conduct, the spying system which is there, information gathering. For a leader, most important thing is getting information, but just not getting information, getting the right information. How do you get the right information? Because the leader cannot go everywhere across the country, cannot go across the state everywhere. He is in his place. But the information which has to come to him has to be precisely right information. And there is a lot of corruption in terms of knowledge corruption which happens. There's a lot of biases which would come in. So how do you get away from all these biases and get the right information for different things is what secret conduct, the secret services, as we talk of, the intelligence bureau, which we say is what is focused in this particular book, which is there, which is secret yoga vrittam, how the whole spying network, the system is spoke. In fact, one interesting thing, triangular spying, you know, trying one spy has another spy spying on him. The second spy has a third spy spying on him, who has been spied by the first spy. All three are spying on each other, and all three are collecting similar information. And then when all three information comes, the Chanakya then cross verifies all the three. If there is a difference, he'll go and try and see why is there a difference in this. So there are three people giving the information about same thing, and then validating it through different manners is what the whole practice talks of. Now, a different detail to get into, but then yes, this book number 5 focuses on yoga vrittam, as in the secret conduct, which is there. Book number 6, one of my favorite books, and a book which I would say Kautilya Arthashastra is almost at the center in that sense. Because here what happens is Kautilya gives a complete understanding of the state. He says now by now, when we put all the states in place, the law and order systems in place, the criminal activities, information gathering, now the whole state is ready. So he gives us an outside in view in book 6. What he does is he gives us a structure called as a Saptanga. We focus upon Saptanga in the program which we do, and use Saptanga as a structure of a business, but where Saptanga, in fact, I'll take up that sutra towards the end. He talks of Swami Amatya Janapada Durga Kosha Dandamitrani iti Prakriteya. Sapta Prakriti, this is nature. These are the 7 elements of a state. But then what I'm talking of here is in book 6, he gives us that outside in view that this is how a complete state would look like. Right? And then he gives qualities of different elements of a state out there. And in that book itself, book 6, when he talks of a complete state, he says this is yours is not the only state around. There are going to be other states as well. So how are these other states and your states going to interact with each other? That's where the foreign policy, the Mandala Yoni or the circle of kings, which we talk of, comes into picture. A very famous a theory. Lot of foreign policy thinkers, lot of foreign policy researchers use this as a basis of foreign policy. One simple example I would give here, where Chanakya says that anyone who is your neighbor is going to be your natural enemy. Why? Because you will be sharing resources. Maybe there's water which is coming from there or water going from you. You want water, they want water. There might be conflict on water. You want some minerals, or the other person has those minerals. You want some land which has agricultural thing, the person has it, or you have it, the other person wants it. And so there is always this conflict of I want something from the neighbor, which is there. So resources becomes a reason for conflict with your neighbor always. Right? And then Chanakya says that is one thing with your neighbor. But understand, your neighbor also has another neighbor on the other side. Right? So and that is his enemy on the other side. So dushman or uska bhi dushman on the other side. And that's when the theory of dushman ka dushman dost. So two people having a common enemy in between become friends. Right, now understand this thing not just from a foreign policy perspective, but from any kind of a strategy perspective also to be used. Two people having common interest become friends. And that's when the whole Mandala Yoni theory starts developing, and Chanakya puts it into whole structure. It's a big exercise to understand Mandala Yoni. And there are kings who are like the middle kings who are surrounded by different kings, doesn't have an outside king. And there are some kings who are very far away influencing. So different types of king Chanakya talks of in this matter. But then this is the book number 6, which gives us an understanding of a state and a state interaction with another state. Book number 7 completely focuses on foreign policy. What are the different measures? It's not always going to be friends and enemies, right? There can be friends who are acting as friends, but there might be enemies. There might be little bit of discomfort growing somewhere or the other, but they're still managing trade. There's something going on. But some people might be really in enemy mode. Some people might be, I don't talk to you, you don't talk to me more, we don't interact, it's isolated completely. So different relationships exist in foreign policy, and Chanakya talks of this exclusively in Shadgunyam, the six gunas which we talk of foreign policy, uh, in that manner. People studying foreign policy in modern day context also refer exclusively to this particular part of Kautilya Arthashastra, where he talks of different equations which will come up in relationship between states, and how do you handle this different relationships which are there. Book number 8, when we get into, it's more of a Vyasanadhikarikam concerning the topic of calamities. Now, in a state, there can be calamities which come up, and Chanakya talks of two types of calamities: man-made calamities and natural calamities. Natural calamities, which is very natural for us all to say. So there's flood, there's drought which has happened, there's tsunami which has come in, something which is a natural uh, calamity which has come in. He also talks of man-made calamities. COVID happened, right? We're still figuring out man-made or natural, right? Some calamities are induced. What are these calamities? And not at an individual, at the state level, there are calamities which are induced. We have riots suddenly happening in countries. Deep state has been spoken about. I don't know whether it exists or not, but then things like deep state which have been spoken about. Why does that sudden? These are human-induced calamities which are there. And Chanakya talks of how do you deal with these calamities, both natural and man-made, in that sense. And book 8 focuses purely upon Vyasanadhikarikam, Vyasana as in calamity which is there, and how do you handle those calamities as a leader who's handling the state. Then comes in the right side, which we talk of, and here more focus comes in terms of war and interaction, which is there. Sun Tzu's Art of War is at times been talked about a contemporary book or something similar to Kautilya Arthashastra. But understand, Sun Tzu's Art of War focuses only on war and conflict strategies. Even these Prince has been spoken about, but Prince also doesn't focus upon governance, nurturation. In fact, one thing I missed about when we spoke about the left side is Chanakya focuses a lot during leadership development on ethics. How a righteous leader should be. The removal of Dhananan and putting in of Chandragupta Maurya. Why Dhananan was wrong. And one sutra which always comes in is Praja Sukhe Sukham Raja Prajanam ta hite hitam, natma priyam hitam raja, prajanam tu priyam hitam. In the benefit of the subjects lies the benefit of the king or the leader whom we talk of. And what is not in the benefit of the subjects is not in the benefit of the king, right? For the people, by the people, of the people, when we say in a democracy, Kautilya is clearly given that in the benefit of the people. If the king is not acting, if the leader is not acting in the benefit of the people, then he is to be removed. And how to be removed also is a different thing which is been spoken about. But then again, what I was focusing upon is the ethics of the leader is the most important factor which comes in leadership development. Going further now into book number 9 onwards, which we focus upon, is there Abhiyasyam Karma, which is more about activity of the king about to march. He's still not marched. He's still not gone into a war. Right? How do you prepare yourself for an endeavor which you are about to take up? About to march is something where the whole preparation for an endeavor or a campaign which is going to come up, a war which is going to be taken about, is been focused in. How do you collect information? How do you collect resources? How do you collect those people which are required? What kind of weapons will be required? How do you fight with those unknown elements which you are going to face? So all those strategic thing of planning for an endeavor or a war is focused upon book 9. So people working for strategies focus on book 9, and that really helps. In the book 10, which we get in, is Sangramikam, actually concerning war. Different strategies of war. People here would definitely would have seen the movie Bahubali. If not, then you can see it. Or even Bahubali movie that he talks different formations in war, right? He talks of a Garuda kind of what is the Garuda formation? Something which goes from two sides like the wing, right? So we see the two princes going from two sides and trying and going and fighting Amrinder, the other goes from here, Mahendra goes from, I don't remember the name of the other guy, but the two of them goes from two sides. And then we have Katappa right in the center, who is one kind of a formation. There's another which is a snake formation. Different kinds of formations to fight with in a war are also been focused about. Now, why is it important? People will say in the modern day context, why is this kind of an a war strategy which we should focus upon? But I will tell you, it's more about thinking strategies here. How do you think your way through different people, different situations, is what this kind of a thinking develops. So concerning war, how do we fight a war, and how do we get over things with minimal damage, is the focus in this particular book. And I would say people who are working on strategies should focus on book 9 and 10 in particular, which is there. Book number 11 comes in. Again, one of my favorite books out there. Shortest book, smallest book of Kautilya Arthashastra. But I would say it's something which he talks about the smallest, but the most powerful. Right? Sangha Vritti, policy towards oligarchies. What are oligarchies? Right? So by dictionary definition, I've had to tell you oligarchies, a small group of people holding huge power, big power, right? So small group of people. Who are the small group? In today's time, we see, maybe people who are very close to the government. We talk of those small elites who are there, small groups. I'm not naming because I don't want to come up with names in particular. But then, say for example, communities in India, we talk of Jain community, the Jews community, right, the Parsi community, right? Small group of people, not a big population, but having extreme power, huge power. Right? These are influential people in this, or influential communities, or influential groups. How do you deal with them? Right? First of all, how do you identify? How do you deal with them? And then two things: how do you break them or make them? So that is what the focus is, which Chanakya talks about, because Chanakya realizes, and when it comes to power, he gives it that understanding that it is going to be consolidated with a few. Right? And how do you get this to understanding of this few, and how do you manage this few, is all that comes into picture. And leader who is going to manage the whole system needs to know this. So the book number 11 focuses upon that. Book number 12 gets into Abali Yakam, concerning the weaker king. Very, I mean, this is where Chanakya's greatness comes in, which Kautilya really is great, because he says, I am not always going to be the stronger one. I can be the weaker one as well. What if I am weak and my enemy is strong? How if the person I'm dealing with is way stronger than who I am, then what do I do? How do I deal with things at that point of time? And there's a whole book dedicated to that. That as a weaker king, what all are the options that you have as a leader? That how do you manage yourself way through that giant who is against you, or the one whom you are facing, or the one whom you are dealing with? Right? Different strategies, maybe things like you go and ally yourself with someone who is bigger than the other one, or you bring up smaller ones together. The whole understanding of the great South, the global South, which we talk of in that sense, getting the smaller ones together and voicing their voice out, for that matter. So different things, different strategies he talks of. But then here, if I am the weaker one, how do I deal with when I am weak and my enemy is strong? So amazing, a thought, which a balanced thought from Kautilya's perspective, which comes in this book. Book number 13, which comes in, is Durgam Bhopaya, means of taking Durga, or fort. How do I go and capture a fort? A very important topic, because oops, I think I just, all right, a very important topic of taking over the fort. Because what happens is, I don't know why my sharing is gone, but are you able to see it, Ankur Bhai?
Yeah, it's still stuck on the 15 books.
All right, great. So I don't know why the this thing went away on mine, but okay, fair. I can see it now. Sure. So book number 13, which is there, which focuses upon means of taking a fort, is very important, because these days, people say that, oh, we have gone and acquired a company. All right. But then I don't know how to deal with the people who are there in the company, the culture of the company which is there, or the people who are there in the company. When you go and acquire something, mergers and acquisitions in particular, how do we integrate two different organizations? right? When you're taking, when the king is taking over a fort, he's just not taking the physical fort in itself. He's taking the people, the businesses there, the culture there, the activities in that fort which is there. How do you deal with those? Mm. In expansionist manner, if I have to say, if a king is going and capturing some country, if say let me say, if United States is going and capturing Greenland, then how would you then integrate that part of Greenland into the activities? I mean, on a lighter note, just an example there. But then that is what would be something which, how do we integrate this? Integrating two different systems and bringing them together is what this book focuses upon in terms of means of taking a fort. Book number 14 in particular concerning secret practices, Raja Vidya iti Guhya Vidya. This is Raja Vidya. The knowledge of running a state is also a secret knowledge. There is not everything which needs to be communicated to the people, right? Otherwise, people would really get shattered and scared and fearful of what is happening around. Not all information needs to go out. There's something which is kept secret. The people who work in public services are the sign the code of secrecy also. So there are few things which is limited, and that is why this comes in as the last or the 14th book, where secret practices which are conducted, not known to everyone, is being spoken about in that. So concerning secret practices. And book number 15 finally goes into more from an academic perspective, people who are researchers. For him, is how the whole book has written. Uh, 48 different methods which he is implied in Kautilya Arthashastra, suggestive methods he has used, or he's used comparative method. He talks of, say, Ushanas are saying this, Bruhaspati is saying this, Shukracharya is saying this. Now, different people have different opinions, but I, as Kautilya, have this opinion. So, comparative analysis. Somewhere he says that, Ne iti Kautilya, I am Kautilya and I say this and has to be followed. I am asserting it. So different manners, 47 different methodologies he has used in terms of teaching in Kautilya Arthashastra. So that is what this book more focused. So research methodologies, and people who are doing PhDs and doing the masters will know how important that research methodologies. And Chanakya has dedicated a book, book number 15, talking about the research methodology which has gone behind writing the whole Kautilya Arthashastra. And that's where it also comes in, as I said, the signatures of Kautilya, where he says that Kautilya, has written this text in the Bhashya format. What is Bhashya format? Where explanatory, he's explained things in a format. So in a Bhashya format for the prince who is going to become the king. So that is why a book on leadership development. The prince who is going to govern the kingdom has to be taught this text, or the sciences which have been mentioned, at least in this text which is there. So methodology of the science all comes in book number 15. So this is book number 15. So these are 15 books of Kautilya Arthashastra in all in a package. It took me 6 months full-time residential to study 6,000 sutras. The regular study group, when we take 1.5 hours daily, 4 to 5 days in a week, is taking 2 years to finish the 6,000 sutras. But then I tried to compile it in 50 minutes for all of you, and at least give an overview of why this particular text is a book on leadership development, which is there. There is a structure which I spoke of. If in fact, I think if there are questions, and I will not get into that here, Ankur Bhai. Rather, let's take up and discuss a few things which is there. So I'll stop the presentation here, and over to you and others who would like to discuss, ask something also.
Wow, great. What an overview. Really got into the structure, explained it, made it relevant. Very interesting. I think a lot of people appreciate it. 909 says great presentation. I launched a couple polls. Just let us know if you're interested in this the next course perhaps that Pranav Bhai is going to be teaching. I'll keep on switching up the polls. Some of you let us know how you heard about the webinar, if this is your first time. Baroji says fascinating. VJG says this is certainly the best webinar I've attended, and that's not an easy thing to do, saying you constantly have high quality speakers. Great presentation. Thank you. All right, let's see what your questions are. A couple of these folks who put questions, please put your questions in the Q&A box. It's harder to keep track of them in the chat. Uh, is that Ramchandraji is asking, are these sutras in the form of commandments? How is it written? It's written as a guide and a manual to a prospective leader, but is it maybe you can give some more context to
Not,
that?
not really all commandments. This comes in, as I said, it's a mix of 47 different methodologies which Kautilya has used. There are some commandments, and I would say he's asserting those things. Now, when I say asserting, if Einstein says E is equal to mc square, we all are bound to believe it, right? We have to say, if Einstein is saying E is equal to mc square, though none of us might have understand it in detail, but then E is equal to, when Chanakya does that, give those kind of commandments somewhere, but those are few which comes in as a part of the whole thing. But then there is suggestive things. There are things, as I said, comparative things which he also gets into. There are some explanatory things also, why certain things and how certain things need to be done. So there are different methodologies which he has used in our culture. We call it the bhashya format, where the whole thing is given in terms of an explanation. It is just not something which is Praniti Sutras is something Sukasya Mulam Dharma, principles which are just been given. But here it is a bhashya. The explanation is there in detail in Kautilya Arthashastra.
Yeah, great. Vijay has put a particular sutra in the
Yeah.
chat. Maybe you can take a look. I think he's just there's two different ones that are talking about slightly different,
The
but in
Praniti
different
Sutras,
angles.
which Vijayji is put in Sukasya Mulam Dharma, Dharmasya Mulam Artha, Arthasya Mulam Rajya, Rajasya Mulam Indriya Jaya. This is what we spoke about. So Indriya Jayasya Mulam Vinaya, Vinayasya Mulam Ruddhos Nitya Seva. This is something which Praniti Sutras talk of. 455 comes in different one-liners which are there.
Nice. Yeah, Anupji, these the Arthashastra I think is available in many languages, not just the Indian languages in Hindi and Gujarati and Tamil and Telugu, but also it's been translated to all the languages of the world, I think. Pranav, bhai, maybe you want to go into some of that impact that it's had globally,
Yes,
and because you touched on Sun Tzu and Machiavelli, but there's so many other places that these thoughts have, we often talk about Aryan invasion mythology and how that's completely been overturned, and the real framework is the out of India theory, right? So much knowledge, wisdom, technical development, metallurgy, right? Ironworking, all of this came out of India and went everywhere. And Arthashastra and Kautilya's Arthashastra is part of that as well. Maybe you can track that a little bit.
no, definitely. Arthashastra is available in multiple languages, though written in Sanskrit. I would say there is always bhasha antar, bhashantar. And if I had to break bhashantar also, it will say bhasha antar. There is an distance which languages would also create. So that bhava which is there, a simple word, and people studying Hindu studies will definitely relate with dharma, and religion. Wow, how do I explain people that it is not religion the way the West would understand with the word religion in that sense? Dharma is the rightest way, and rightest way does not belong to a particular way of clan or a culture. Dharma has 68 different meanings, 70 different meanings in that context, which uh, and people have been exploring more and more on that context. So there is bhasha and that Sanskrit being the core language, but then yes, from a translation perspective, available in most of the languages. Surprisingly, you will find an Indology section at Heidelberg University in Germany, which has things in German also available. There, English definitely. R.P. Kangle, Shama Shastri, Patrick Olivelle, Ellen Rangarajan. These are all English translators of Kautilya Arthashastra. So it's available in different languages for someone to explore for sure.
Yeah.
That is there. There is a
And in the
question which
course,
asked.
you're gonna
Yeah.
have it as both English and Sanskrit. You're gonna have the Sanskritam, the transliteration, the
Yeah.
English, and then you're gonna go back and forth. So you don't have to know Sanskrit, but it's a part of it as well. But the English version will be available. Sorry, I
Yeah.
interrupted you.
No, no, definitely. But yes, even for that matter, fortunately or unfortunately, my parents also put me into English language medium. So my wiring in the language of thinking for me also has become English. It has taken me a task to understand the Sanskrit words, and in fact, the next reading I'm starting next month. As I said, we're doing sutra by sutra. is I'm doing with a Sanskrit scholar who knows Vyakarana Shastra, so that we can really decode those things from that manner. But then yes, English is the language which I would also work on for my personal consumption, for that matter.
Very nice.
Right?
This next
Some
anonymous person, oh, we get through some of the questions and then we'll open
yes.
it up. So somebody anonymously is asking, I think a lot of people think about for a busy working professional, right, and a parent, what is an abridged way to learn some of the key Arthashastras, principles, and other teachings of Chanakya? And let me just take a little bit of this and then give it to you, Pranabhai, right? There's so much in the Indic knowledge system, in Hinduism, in Sanatana Dharma, and the from the Vedas to the history to this Shastra and the Arthashastra, right? So at HUA, we want to make it accessible. We want to make all of it available and accessible as almost like a menu, right? We have so much knowledge. Who is interested in learning this in a serious way can come to us, and we've designed it for working professionals, right? Many of our courses are weeknights and weekends. There's the graduate division, which is heavier and it's a higher commitment. We have so many courses in the community education division, and Pranabhai's course is in the community education division, where it's 1.5 hours a week of class time. And then depending on how much time you're going to put into it, you could put in 3 hours reading everything and getting deep into it, or you could just skim the materials and focus on the class time. So in that way, there's a little bit of flexibility in these courses that we're offering in the community education division, which is designed for professionals. For parents, we have courses designed for families to take together as well, because it's better to take a course like this than vegetate out on TV or something, right? Which we all do. And this new phenomenon of flubbing, right? Everyone's on their phone together, and that's family time now. But we're trying to address that and make this engaging, easy to access. And maybe Pranabha, you can talk about the different range of people who have taken this and benefited from it as well.
No, definitely. See, one way of studying is reading it. There are a lot of people who have done commentaries on Kautilya Arthashastra. So my teacher, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai himself, has written 22 books, which you can see from different perspective, trying to bring it out in modern day contextual references. Studying Kautilya Arthashastra from an academic perspective, I mean, for me, it's Shastra Krupa, and that's what I've taken up as a profession or something which is of my liking. And it's we are trying to decode it word by word. Obviously, not possible for everyone to do that for sure. So you can take up courses like what HUA is doing once in a while, or you can study those commentaries which are there. Apart from that, these days, AI. I would say let's make the best use of AI rather than criticize AI, right? Ask the AI about the question which you want to. It will refer you to the books or to the sutras for that matter. What has happened is we are also uploading all this, and whatever I have in terms of my knowledge bank available, books available, research papers available on Kautilya Arthashastra, we are putting it on the generative AI. So I'm sure it's consuming it somewhere or the other, and it will be able to pull out the right contextual things for you. And why not? And in fact, we probably will be able to create an avatar of Chanakya someday also. So something Hindu University should take up. Let's create an avatar of Chanakya with all the knowledge bank available. So you ask the question and it will answer to you in that sense also.
Yeah, we have a lot of projects. We'll see if that one cracks the list. But the chat bot, right? It's pretty interesting. And I was just looking at the energy it takes, though, right? The amount of energy AI takes is potentially dangerous, right? How easy it is, and you're right. I try to use it where I can, but in terms of how much it costs to generate the energy, where those in America, right? They're building these energy plants in places where there's no opposition, right? But they're destroying the forests and the rivers and the mountains and all this other stuff. So it's pros and cons. And this is a big question for government. How are we going to regulate it? What are we going to do with it? This is layers to this. Let me take a couple more questions. Apurvaji is saying Chanakya is awesome, but they want to know which books has the purest form of Kautilya Arthashastra. I don't know if that's an interesting question to think about. What is pure and what is not? When did he write it and in what format? But like you're saying, the historicity is there, right? He signed off on this Arthashastra as his work, his magnum opus is one way of putting it.
Yes,
But maybe you
yes.
want to talk to that, yeah.
No, see again from an academic perspective, when we study Arthashastra, he has said in the Arthashastra that 6,000 sutras. However, over a long period of time, we have lost certain sutras. So 5,386, 5,400 odd sutras are available to us. We have lost 600 sutras somewhere in the meantime. Also, uh, if someone really is interested in the I would say how Arthashastra has been formed or reformed. When I say reformed, till 1905 it was not available. Now everyone knew there is Arthashastra, but no one had the text available. When first it was found by Shama Shastri ji in Mysore, there were a certain number of sutras found. Then we found certain number of sutras from Patna, and then certain from Lahore, which was a part of India at that point of time. And then things were put together. Compilations have happened over a period of time. Interestingly, there was a version of Arthashastra which also came in from Germany. Somewhere Hitler used German, strategies or thoughts behind Arthashastra. A translated version of Kautilya Arthashastra was received. There's a lot of research work on this also, that how Arthashastra was put together again. uh, I would say refer to R.P. Kangleji's Sanskrit version if you really want the most well compiled Arthashastra available in Sanskrit. R.P. Kangle, Sanskrit Department, University of Mumbai, is really the one which is very well compiled from that matter. And in a scholarly way, he's really put in footnotes in the Navit Sutras. Where does it come from? What sutras? Which one? Where it was found and how they were put together also. So that is one thing I would say from an academic perspective, if someone really wants to explore Arthashastra. And if someone is doing that, please get in touch with me also. I would also love to be on that journey with you. So that's one there.
Nice. Sanji, how do modern leaders like Narendra Modi or Donald Trump reflect Kautilya's ideas on power, image building, and political strategy? We actually had a blog on that. Kalyanji wrote one, and he has done a series of presentation on how Modi ji has definitely used Kautilya's Arthashastra in planning different aspects. Most likely, right? It's easy to see the connections, and he's done several presentations on it, and I think Pranavbhai would like to talk more on that.
No, I mean, sometimes the lesser the comment, the better it is. All the things which is there. But the way, yes, definitely, we see a modern day super relevance. I'm not just using the word relevance, super relevance, because we see acts happening and we see, oh wow, Arthashastra has really said that if this can be put in together. Foreign policy, way to explore. Really amazing application which we see in present day context. How is how those things, dushman ka dushman dost, and how different alliances are forming, the oligarchies which we talk of. And when we talk of oligarchies, Chanakya talks of different alliances also which is formed. Why those alliances come into picture? And Artha eva pradanaha iti Kautilya. Eventually, it is the Artha which will manage everything. And why is those Artha becoming most important when we talk of trade wars happening, and why is trade becoming most center staged in all this foreign policy these days? Is definitely modern day application of Kautilya Arthashastra for that matter. So, really a lot of relevance can be seen in present day.
Great. Some people are asking back to back, Ramchandra ji, Anonymous, um, what book to use? Is it in Sanskrit? What's a good translation in English? Right? All of
Yeah.
those questions come up, and you're the expert on this. So I know.
No, I would say,
Okay.
yeah, let me just answer it. If someone wants to note it down also for that matter, and if required, I will share the links with you, or by later on, or you can share with people. R.P. Kangleji, as I mentioned, in Sanskrit is the right compilation, one of the best compilations. R.P. Kangleji has also translated it in English. So R.P. Kangle, University of Mumbai Sanskrit Department's work on Kautilya Arthashastra is one of the best for Sanskrit and English. Shama Shastri ji, who actually found it in 1905, has also written a translation. So these are two translations which is there. Western perspective, if you really want to see, you can see Patrick Olivelle, who has written a translation of Kautilya Arthashastra. And the most important one, which I really love exploring, is L.N. Rangarajan. Someone can write it on L.N. Rangarajan's translation of Kautilya Arthashastra. He's not just translated, he is re-indexed. all 6,000 sutras there in his translation, but he has re-indexed, he has reshuffled the whole Kautilya Arthashastra with present day understanding. So how do we look at the world in present day? And he has reordered all the sutras and put them together, re-indexed it. So that's one way of looking at it. So it really changes the perspective from which we see Kautilya Arthashastra. So Ellen Rangarajan's translation also is a very, very, very effective one. So there are a few ones which are there. Apart from that, there is Ganapati Shastriji's translation, which is available. There are some commentaries. There are a lot of commentaries available. There's Sanskrit commentaries available. There are plays which are available, Mudra Rakshasa, and then there is Dandaniti Shastra, Kamandika Nitisara, which is there. So there are all extracts of Arthashastra also available. But then I would say those who become advanced detailed study. As of now, if you can really focus on this, it will be great. Someone wants to study that.
Great. I put some of the authors in the chat,
Yep.
translators. All right. Let's see what else. We have quite a few more questions. We have crossed the top of the hour. We'll try to get through these. Well, I don't know, actually. There's like 15 more questions. Let's see what we can do. Pranav bhai, maybe this is the rapid round, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
so we answered a couple of the translations, different versions. So Shriji, this course that is offering right now is the same course, the Chanakya's Leadership Principles for the 21st Century, that's ongoing now. What we are going to do, and we're not really ready to launch it, we're still in development, but we're going to put together maybe 4 courses, call it a micro certificate in Chanakya or Arthashastra or Kautilya. Pranav bhai will come up with it, and then we'll dive deeper in 4 different courses hitting different aspects of the Arthashastra. We haven't launched it yet because you're on this webinar with us now. You get to hear that. But Shriji, look out for that one. In the meantime, this is the same course. Pranav bhai, what do you want to say about that?
People can join in if they want to. The current batch, one class is done last week, and the second one is tomorrow morning for me, today evening for people who are there in the United States. I don't know if really someone wants to, but can join in. One class is done. Recording will be available with HUA. I think it's uploaded on the course login also. So if someone wants to join in, this particular batch can do it. And as Ankur Bhai said, we are redesigning. We would come up with more microcredit courses on Kautilya. So maybe put a 1-year course and then divide it into 4 microcredits is what our focus is to do next.
Nice. All right. Does any particular part of the Arthashastra or Chanakya deal with Ayurveda, health?
Yes. Yeah, a lot. Book 2, book 8, book 14. Superfood. People are going into war, and the biggest challenge is to carry food. Chanakya is spoken about superfood. You mix certain things, some things put together. You eat it. The army doesn't need to eat something for days together. They're marching without food. You should refer to Hitler's story of using methamphetamine, as we say in today's time, praline, which was used during invasion of France, superfoods which are made, things like that. If something is hurt, someone is wounded, what medicine should be used, where it should be used, all those has been focused upon in this books for that matter. Yes, he does talk about it, but then obviously not as in detail as Ayurveda. He gives a glimpse of this and use of the important ones from governance perspective.
Very cool. Of course, right? That's a big thing, especially in America, and I'm in California, right? Healthcare. So much money and resources we spend into healthcare, but if the king, if the leader, if the political structure, the government's not keeping its people healthy and safe, right? It goes hand in hand. Then what are we doing, right? So that's such an important part, and no doubt he would talk about it in different ways. All right.
Siksha and these two things Chanakya has said be taken care of by the state. Siksha, education, and again, America being a capitalist country, education is also very expensive, and swasthya, which is also health and healthcare and wellness, which we talk about, is also super expensive. I don't know. Now, very different way of looking at the thing. In India, we are running something called as Ayushman Bharat. 50 crore people have got health cards for 5 lakh rupees health insurance, and then we are running the food scheme where 60 crore people, one of the largest food distribution scheme which is going on in the world. We feed people, and from Arthashastra perspective, a developed nation is something which will where swasthya and siksha becomes free of cost. If the state can really take care of health and education of the people, that's when the prosperity and praja sukha, sukha of the people would come into picture there. So uh, yes, that is one thing which is important.
Great. Vijayji, and I think this dovetails and you can build on it. Vijayji asks, do you see business schools, university economics programs, strategy schools, governance schools, et cetera, developing curricula based on Kautilya's works? And how long do you think it will take for us to get there? I know we're already doing it. We have a class on this at Hindu University of America. We're offering it right now. If you haven't taken it, please do. But I know other institutions are also starting to get into this.
Yes.
You are part of it at Seoul, and Dr. Pillai has been doing it. But how is that looking? What's the trajectory? How far have we come?
No, we've been using it. The work has started. We've been doing it for years now, but now we actually see it in really big manner that things have taken off. For that matter, understand the whole of Kautilya Arthashastra might not be relevant. We'll talk of elephants and horses and fighting with bows and arrows. We are not talking of those kind of things also. The present day context of that is also important. So mini courses have started. Many programs on Kautilya. Mumbai University has started offering a program purely on Kautilya Arthashastra, for that matter, which is there. And principles of Kautilya Arthashastra needs to be understood. So when I say of governance, what Chanakya has been focusing upon, and in terms of technology is something which might not be relevant, but the way of doing things, way of living, and the thought, the thinking behind the leaders' thought, as I started off with, the ethical leaders' thought, which is there, is purely the manner. Now things like, how a leader should be. The leader should have something whose six enemies have been casted out. What are the six enemies? Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mana, Mada, Harsha. Now this is something which we have to first. Kama, a leader cannot have Kama as a quality. Krodha, leader cannot just get angry and lose his balance. Lobha, greedy. Mana, pride, ego, mother, foolhardiness. These are qualities which a leader should not have. Arisha, casting out the six enemies. And Indriya Jaya, how you should focus upon himself. And if you want to capture, and we've been hearing this, right? If you want to capture the world, first capture yourself. So these are things which principles are to be used in present day contextual references, and how do we put it into application is what I mean could be the best contribution we can do to Kautilya's work. So yes, courses are running. We've been working on things. There are a lot of different formats in which the courses are also running.
Yeah. Ranjita ji, your question is exactly what the course is about, right? Getting into the specific sutras and how they would apply and how you can use them in your own way. When I took the course, actually, I used the Sapanga model and applied it to HUA, right? The different aspects of Hindu University of America and how that could be correlated to the Sapanga model. And the class did presentations. It was pretty interesting. And so each batch is unique. It's different. Different people are presenting and applying it in different ways. Please, Ranjita ji, take the course. You'll enjoy it. You'll be able to apply it. Shriji, again, did you ask again? It is the same course. Yes, that's the one that we're talking about. You asked again and again, Shriji. Sorry. It's different if you take it this time and apply your knowledge from last time, but it's fine. We'll be launching the new ones soon enough. Bhupendra ji is asking, did Acharya Chanakya connect Arthashastra with that? Why are the questions being duplicated? We did get into that. Um, BJG, follow-up question. Can you please comment what needs to be done concretely to get to a point where we develop curricula based on his work? I think we already answered that one as well. That's what we are doing. It's demonstration, right? It's application. It's getting more people to buy in, literally, right? Invest in their time and their resources and then demonstrate that it is effective. Ramchandra ji is asking, like Ramayana and Mahabharata, is there a critical edition that was published? Again, we got into that. There's many translations, many interpretations, many commentaries on different aspects and detail. And Dr. Radhakrishna Pillai is one of the experts. He's written 20 different books, which I haven't read all of them, but I know Pranav Bhai, you probably even worked with him on some of those, and that really gets into it. Um, Sanji, it's very interesting that materials on this were discovered in Lahore. Oh man, let's not even get there. That's a whole different question of Akhand Bharat and what the loss of ancient historical sites mean, and with partition in particular. But that's a whole we'll do that again. Maybe there's a section there. Let me just run through this,
There is a
Pranav bhai.
conflict. There is a conflict between India and Pakistan because they say partly, Takshashila is with us, so Chanakya belongs to us. However, we say Patliputra is with us, so and Chanakya obviously talking about Bharat Varsha, so he belongs to us. But I would say till recent times, I would say till 90s at least, if we see history, the Pakistan army really used a lot of principles of Kautilya Arthashastra in the development. The whole
Hmm.
guerrilla warfare and the whole terrorist way of dealing with things, because obviously they cannot fight head on, so they use all these covert tactics which Chanakya also talked about. If I am the weaker one, we spoke about those, and those they really used it somewhere, and then and it's been engraved in the system somewhere or the other. So yes, so the, it's a great loss somewhere, but then we have to deal with it. Our own younger brother is troublemaking, so what do we do?
Okay, that's interesting. Bhupendra ji's kind of got two back-to-back questions that'll take us to the end. Um, so he's just making a comment that some Bharat universities have introduced courses like Vedantic science, yes, and
Yes.
maybe our success here in America has instigated some of our friends and cousins and brothers and sisters in Bharat to pick up the cause again. And then he's asking, does Pranavbhai think political science degrees, introduction of Kautilya's work, will be useful? I think that's a yes, but maybe you want to talk a little bit on how and how you see it happening.
No, in fact, it's the other way around. Leadership development includes political science. So definitely, political science studies does talk about Kautilya because the Arthashastra is a text which is purely focuses on political science, how the state should be run, how a state should be governed, for that matter. But I would say let's put it the other way around. A course on Kautilya Arthashastra also includes political science as one of the things. Because what Kautilya Arthashastra talks of is just not political science. It talks of things like economics. It talks of foreign policy. It talks of warfare. And then you all have now just gone through in this presentation. So political science becomes a part of Kautilya Arthashastra in that sense. But yes, to start with, let's start including Kautilya Arthashastra as a part of political science, and then we'll see take the larger picture as we go ahead.
All right. Shriji, we did have a course on Ramayana leadership. We had Shantanu Gupta. We had another course as well. We didn't get so much interest in it. Chanakya has drawn more interest, and maybe we'll loop around with Ramayana leadership in the future. Thank you for that question. Jitu ji, glad that you were able to join us. Ravi ji, welcome again. I know you were with us yesterday for our Friends of HUA webinar. Sandeep ji, Shona ji, glad to see all of you with us today. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. It is always my pleasure to host a great conversation. I hope people will still enroll in this course and then apply this knowledge in your daily lives to help HUA, to be a part of what we're building and contribute. And Pranav Bhai, I'm glad that we were able to make this work on short notice. Thank you so much. Very good. Very appreciate it so much. And now let me hand it to you to close us out.
Always a pleasure and really thankful, really very, very heartfully thankful to HUA, everyone, including Kalyanji, Arvindji, Madhavan sir, Ankur by you, for making this effort. And I mean, somewhere we all are working with a mission and purpose in life, doing this, what we are doing, researching of Indian knowledge, spreading. And when we talk of Vishwa Guru, we never say Vishwa Vijeta Bharat. You want to be Vishwa Guru Bharat. We are the knowledge, Bharata, as we talk of the land of light, the knowledge. And if we can really bring this knowledge up for the rest of the world, what you guys are doing, that will be the smallest contribution which we can do to the research, or I would say making Bharat great again, for that matter. And really happy to be associated and always available for whatever little I can do in the gigantic effort that you all are putting in. Thank you very much for calling me and doing this webinar.
Thank you. Namaste. Dhanyawad, everyone. Enjoy your weekend.